Now, the member for Gilmore and St Marlis announced recently that the federal government will chip in $25 million for the Batemans Bay Arts and Aquatic Centre, but the money hasn't been awarded yet. To find out where exactly that's at, we're joined by the Eurobodalla Shire Mayor, Liz McInnes. Good morning, Councillor McInnes.
It's not actually McInnes, Simon, it's Innes.
I'm sorry, that just shows what an idiot I am, and sometimes I just read what is in front of the screen for me. Yes, I do know that. Sorry, Liz. Now, this $25 million, how sure is that?
Look, Simon, you know, they've obviously made a big commitment and it's a big statement. So, you know, as you said, there's probably another step or two for us to take. And we'll work really closely with the federal government to ensure that any information that they need from us, they certainly will get. You know, as you go through these major projects, of course, as people are aware, you know, you do build business cases, you get more detail, and I suspect there's some things around that they're going to be asking for us. But, you know, we've got everything. We've got you know, a very solid business case. We've got an incredible community that's very supportive of what we're trying to achieve. So, you know, we were delighted by this announcement the other day, Simon, because, you know, if anybody's been watching federal politics lately, it's been a bit tumultuous. So obviously for us at council, that was a little bit concerning because, you know, you build relationships with ministers and, you know, key people in politics that are going to be making decisions around where funding comes from. And when it's, you know, when it's all up in the air a little bit, it is a bit concerning for us. But as I said, we were absolutely delighted with the announcement on Friday.
So I guess the stage it's at, according to the Regional Development and Local Government Department, it's shortlisted to go to the second stage, but still some hurdles to clear.
Well, that's right, but the very fact that we've been shortlisted to go to the second stage is, you know, it's beyond promising. It's, you know, it's a fairly large statement and commitment from them that, you know, what we have put up is absolutely worthwhile, and all being as it should, you know, we will secure the funding.
And how important is it to, I guess, get an ongoing commitment with, as you say, a bit of change in federal politics, particularly in Gilmore, and we don't know yet who the Liberal candidate for the seat is going to be?
Look, that's right, and, you know, Simon, stability is certainly something that all of our community, you know, likes to see, particularly in its political leaders. However, that's for the, you know, federal government of the day to sort out. They need to get a good candidate for Gilmore. We'll be willing, as we always are, to work with any politician that is representing our local government area. And, you know, we work very closely with Mike Kelly, who's further south from us. And we'll continue to do that, Simon. It's about having good working relationships, and I think that's one of the strong parts of Eurobodalla Shire Council is that, you know, we do develop very good working relationships with our local representatives.
Another announcement this week around cruise ships in Eurobodalla, and you're working with the Ports Authority to get a bit of a timetable happening for cruise ships visiting Batemans Bay. What is the work that needs to be done there?
Look, there's the work that needs to be done there is just to ensure that when they're communicating with us, that we give them all the information that they need to you know, give to their visitors and their guests on board as to what options are available to them. You know, they might want to go to wineries in the local area, they might want to go to our local zoo, they might want to go to, you know, Mogo Gold Rush Colony, cruises, they might want to taste some of our fantastic oysters, they might want to go skydiving. But, you know, our role is to ensure that they have all of those options, you know, placed out and available to them. Also to make sure that, you know, when they do come in with their tenders, that there's a spot for them to, you know, pull up into the bay and ensure that they can offload their guests. So we'll work closely with them. We'll make sure that we do everything possible to make sure that when they do come in, that their visit to Batemans Bay is absolutely memorable. And I have no doubt that that's what Batemans Bay will do.
And in terms of providing that infrastructure, might there be some work that needs to be done in the future, or is it all there ready to go?
Look, it's all there ready to go at this stage, Simon, but that doesn't stop us from looking and, having an eye to the future and to what we might be able to do to enhance those facilities, and we absolutely will be doing that. And that's kind of a little bit of a good segue, I guess, into, when this new bridge gets built in Batemans Bay. The RMS certainly has indicated that they're willing to work with us to look at infrastructure. One of the major pieces of infrastructure that we have here in Batemans Bay is what's commonly known as the T-Wharf. Now, my understanding is that, it is coming to the end of its use-by date. It will need to be replaced. So, one of the things that we'll be closely working with our boating community and with these, cruise ships is what kind of facilities that do they need. Now, there has been suggestion that we'd like to see some floating pontoons, so they allow people easy access off their boats and to get, their goods and things on and off their vessels. And then there's also the element that some feel they need that fixed structure so that, they can get maybe nets and things in and off fishing trawlers as well. So we'll work really well closely with RMS on that project going forward, and ensure that we get the best facilities that, service the wonderful vessels and things that utilise the Clyde River.
And is there any, analysis of how much longer the T-Wharf has in its lifespan?
Well, look, I haven't got those details in front of me, Simon, but I don't think it's impending doom, so to speak. I think it's still there for some time, for the time being, but it certainly is on the radar of RMS that it is something that they have identified that we need to do something about. So, just the fact that they're aware of it and that it is going to be considered, I think is, it's very reassuring for our local boating fraternity here in Batemans Bay. We'll continue, as we always do, to try and get better infrastructure. One of the problems that we do always have to struggle with, of course, is that when the state funds infrastructure projects, then effectively they are handed over for council to maintain into the future. Now, that can be a little bit problematic as far as budgeting, and, it does put pressures on council's budget, but nonetheless, that's not a reason for us not to go ahead with vital pieces of infrastructure. So, we'll work with the state government on that.
Now, there's been a lot of consultation around dog beaches in the Eurobodalla in recent times, and I understand the Companion Animal Management Plan was passed at yesterday's council meeting. What do people need to know about how it works?
Well, look, just at this stage, I'd say to people, don't press the panic button just yet, because this won't be implemented until next May. And what that does is allows us to avoid any sort of confusion about the changeover of the new sort of Companion Animal Management Plan over the summer period, because, we don't want to be out there with our visitors and our locals alike saying, well, we don't know what the rules are over the summer period. So it's going to be implemented in May. Basically, I guess the effective changes are there's going to be 3 new new classifications. Dog off-leash, which will be 24 hours, and then a timeshare of off-leash, and then areas where dogs are totally prohibited. Now, what we're trying to do is get the balance right. And we understand, we absolutely get it, that it's vital for people to be able to walk their dogs. It's good for, it's good for people's health. It's good for people's well-being. It's good for the dogs. So we get that, and we get how absolutely important that is to our members of our community. But we also do understand, Simon, that there are some people that, don't want to interact with dogs. So we're trying very hard to get the balance right to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to enjoy these magnificent beaches that we do have. And of course, there are areas that, with national parks and things, that dogs are completely forbidden, and that's entirely appropriate. So, look, it's been a very, very interesting process. I do absolutely congratulate our team and at council, because, we know that there's probably no bigger issue that people want to get involved with than dogs and how they're allowed to be able to be exercised. So our council staff have done a fantastic job on this, and I think it's going to be a great solution going forward.
And Councillor Innes, a bit of community momentum behind a push for a new hospital for the Eurobodalla, a regional base hospital. What do you think of that idea?
Well, look, Simon, I think it's an absolute no-brainer that we put our energies and resources into one regional hospital in Eurobodalla. You know, the last time that this issue came up, you know, there was a lot of parochialism around where it should be situated. But I think the very first decision for us to make collectively as a community is that we do need one regional hospital. And that, you know, I think it would be very important for us to make sure from a council perspective, and we're going to be meeting with Dr. Holland. He's made the very generous offer to come and, you know, talk to us and brief us and talk to us about some of those concerns. And, you know, after that, I think that it's absolutely relevant that council comes out with a very clear statement around this, and I'm absolutely sure that we will.
Well, Councillor Innes, your name is actually very easy to get right. I'm sorry I added that extra syllable.
Okay, that's okay. Look, and Simon, just the last thing, of course, I just need to touch on the rain dances again, because they are absolutely going ahead at a rapid rate of knot, and we're starting to get really excited about this. I just want to say to people, even though we've had this beautiful little bit of rain that we've had, which has been most welcomed, it's certainly not drought-breaking rain, and things can turn nasty very quickly. The forward projections are not looking spectacular. So, you know, I say to people, please get on board with this. It is an incredible opportunity for us to support our farmers and our local rural communities. So there's going to be some really exciting information, some exciting things happening in that space. So.
Excellent, and all happening late next month to raise money for the drought efforts. Councillor Innes, thank you so much.
No worries, and you have a fabulous day, Simon, and you know, I hope everybody out there is having a terrific time and gearing up for the wonderful summer that's going to come ahead of us.
Absolutely. Councillor Innes, thank you. And it is time to get out the sunblock again as well. That's the Eurobodalla Mayor, Councillor Liz Innes.